Hello and welcome to Unfudge Your Marketing. This is a show where I chat with business owners and leaders about their marketing missteps, mishaps, and things that didn't go quite as planned. But most importantly, we share the lessons learned with all of you, our listeners. I am your host. I'm Kristi Mitchell. I am a marketing strategist and I work with service based business owners who have built themselves on referrals and word of mouth. And they know in order to grow and have the impact they want, they need to finally think more strategically about their marketing. Today, I am welcoming Kaitlyn Rios to the show. Kaitlyn is a doctor of physical therapy and a board certified wound specialist. Her physical therapy career has been anything but typical and has led her to pursue many niche and diverse leadership opportunities. Currently, she works as a VP of Clinical Business Development for a rapidly growing national wound product manufacturer. In her spare time, Kaitlyn seeks to give back to her community via serving at her church and furthering the development of her nonprofit organization, Faced with Grace, which offers motivational mentorship to women navigating the challenges of workplace toxicity. In her spare time, she enjoys spending time with her family, recreational and professional writing, creating ceramic pottery, and going to concerts. Kaitlyn lives life always striving to honor her core values of integrity, authenticity, gratitude, adaptability, and humility. With that, I will welcome Kaitlyn to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here and reading your bio. I'm like, oh my gosh, we could talk about so many other things that aren't marketing related. This all sounds so interesting to me.
Thank
But I
you.
guess we'll stay on task. We'll see if we
All
have
right.
room at the end to talk about the personal stuff. But very, very awesome. It sounds like you certainly stay very busy. I absolutely love what you're doing in with building the nonprofit. That is very cool. Definitely resonates with me, having gone through, the corporate thing and
Oh yeah.
having
Yeah.
having those battle scars.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I hear that just about every day.
Yes. Yes. Which means you're doing work that needs to be
Yes.
done, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely.
Very cool. Well, I always like to kick off by sharing how I met my guests. So I would love to give Andrew Stout a shout out today for introducing us. I think, I don't know how you and he met, but he and I met a couple years ago and I was on his podcast. He was
Mhm.
on mine. And so he, when I told him I was, still looking for more guests for Unfudge Your Marketing, he connected us. So I was very glad that he did that.
Yes, he's wonderful. I also met him on his podcast last year. So
Yes.
he's a
Yes.
great human.
He is a great human, a very giving guy, very good at connecting people. So thank you so much, Andrew, for making this happen today.
Thanks, Andrew.
So, Kaitlyn, today we are going to be chatting about a past experience you had in marketing. Specifically, you told me you were launching a new virtual roundtable event
Mhm.
and you ended up having 0 attendees. So, where you are not alone, first of all, I hope you know that. Totally happens. It totally happens for sure. But it gives us this opportunity to kind of look at, okay, what led up to that? Why did that happen? What did you have to change kind of moving forward? So, I will ask you, where would you like to start the conversation today?
Well, I guess let's give the background of the situation. So, as you mentioned, I recently started a nonprofit organization. I sort of soft launched it last October, right around Halloween. And then we became an official 501c3 nonprofit organization in February. So, those first few months, brand new baby organization, not even like legit or official yet. And I was, I was very dreamy about the whole thing, thinking it would just take off, and I started my
Optimistic.
yes, that's a great way to put it. But I thought, "Oh, I'll wait the month of November, I won't do one, and then I'll kick off in December, and of course, by then it will have had all the traction it needed to gain an audience." And certainly that did not happen. I showed up to my call and, just being there just in case somebody had an RSVP, like, moments before or whatever, and of course no one did. So leading up to that, I had pushed out, I don't know, maybe 3 pieces of marketing around it, and maybe done like one piece of content where I was, on video talking about it, but that was it. And so thinking that that was enough was obviously Incorrect. I've changed my game quite a bit since then, but still learning. Actually, we had another event last night, and no one showed up to that one either. But I think for very different reasons, and I've been kind of watching the trends and learning
Yeah.
sort of the ebb and flow of things, and it's a game. It's a game you've got to really practice and master and understand.
Yeah. So, Kaitlyn, I would love to dig into this because I've had previous conversations. I'm thinking of two in particular, with a woman that I know who's like a group strategist. So she helps coaches develop group programs.
Mhm.
Another woman who does memberships. She helps, a lot of coaches like build their memberships. And I have had great conversations with both of those ladies about the business owners that they work with who think like, well, I can't start marketing until I have the thing created.
Mm.
And so we've had really great conversations around you have to start the marketing way before the thing is
Oh,
created.
yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
way before. Like it's never too early to start marketing because marketing is building your audience. It doesn't mean that you're going to sell to them right now, but you're building this group of people, this community who care about what you're doing and want to follow along in this journey that you're on. So let me pause
Absolutely.
there. How does that sit with you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it resonates for me, not even in my nonprofit business, but like the corporate world. I've experienced situations like that where it's like, oh man, we should have been talking about this 6 months ago, and here we are unprepared and scrambling, right? So if you're not ahead on your marketing, you're behind, in my opinion. I think you've got to stay ahead of that curve, and you've got to be thinking 10 steps ahead of everyone else and every project. And without that, you really are. You're left to scramble, and you're ultimately probably going to wind up with not a decent presentation of your product or whatever it is you're trying to market. So
Yeah. I love that. If you're not thinking ahead on your marketing, you're behind. I'm going
yeah.
to use that one.
Oh
Thank
yeah.
you for that.
So
That
true.
golden little nugget. Okay, so you ended up with 0 attendees, and from there, you what did you do before? Was this most recent one the next one, or did you have
No, so
something in
we've
between?
had now 4 technically. So we started in
Okay.
December, and then January, February, March. In January and February, my attendance grew. Like it, from nothing, it obviously grew a lot, right? We're still in our small number phases though, for sure. Like
Yeah.
I'm not naive to think that we're just like gonna blow up and become something overnight, but we are gaining traction and gaining attendance. I think the one of the things I've learned that is super, super important for these types of events is you're working a roundtable event that's not only, for a lot of people not work related, it's after hours, it's happening on the side of someone's desk or in their spare time or in their family time, whatever it may be, it's in their personal life, right? And so
Mhm.
finding that sweet spot of what is the right hour of the day, what day of the week works best for people and multiple people, it just becomes there's so many variables you have to consider. And so these first few trials, we've done different days of the week. We've like kind of tested and trialed, and I've figured out that I think Thursdays are my sweet spot. And last night happened to be a Wednesday, and the one person I had that was going to come didn't even come. So, you think about the things that happen on Wednesday nights. For a lot of people, that's like church events, or they're doing something with their kids, or there's always
Cub
something.
Scouts for us as
Yeah,
well.
there's always something. We had gymnastics right before this was put on, so I mean, even me. Um, but yeah, it's really honing in and figuring out what is that sweet spot, what's the right time of day for people, and really where do I fit into their life so that I can actually gain some traction with this and make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting you say that because again, going back to those other conversations that I referenced with, people who develop, group coaching and membership programs and this idea that you need to start marketing like way ahead. One of the benefits of doing that is you can do market research and get, try and gauge the interest and give people polls and options of, okay, like I'm thinking about offering this on a Thursday or a Saturday morning, which are you more
Right.
likely to attend kind of thing. So that's kind of another reason we'll put in that bucket of like get out ahead of it, start marketing early, because then you can gauge your audience and figure out how you can tailor what you're offering to meet them where they're at and when they're available.
Absolutely. And another thing I've learned along the way is to simplify my own processes so that each month it's not this whole like start from scratch, rebuild the event all over again, like automating
Yeah.
things and making it, using a streamlined image versus creating a new image every single month. Like just simple things that make sense, but you don't think about when you're building something, has really just helped me to like rein everything in, feel more organized, feel more on top of it so that if we do have to pivot, we can. And
Yeah.
that's another thing I think about is the power in being able to pivot last minute if you need to. I know you mentioned that before we got on here. Like sometimes you have to, right? Like that is
Yeah.
part of marketing. You've got to be able to navigate an unexpected event. I've definitely experienced that in the corporate world where we were marketing ahead of the game and we were prepared and we were on top of it. And then all of a sudden the deal fell through and we had to pivot. We had to pull back
Yeah.
on everything we'd prepared, but we were there and we were ready and we knew how to navigate that because we were thinking ahead 10 steps.
Yes.
Right?
Oh
So
my
it's
gosh.
important.
Yeah, so many helpful tips in that, Kaitlyn. Like your point about automating and streamlining as much as possible, especially for an event like this, what you're saying, this roundtable. For you, it reminds me of when a few years ago in my business, I used to run a masterclass every single month, and it was the same masterclass. And it takes a few iterations for you to figure out, like, okay, where can I make my life a little bit easier next time I do this? And how can I repurpose what I already had instead of recreating the wheel every time? And so I think that is important when you're talking about, especially an event that's helping you. It's like it's helping you market, but then you also have to market the event itself,
Right.
right? It's like
Exactly.
twofold. But yeah, thinking in terms of all those areas of opportunity to streamline and simplify and automate that's a great, great takeaway, I think, for everybody listening. And the other point I wanted to pull out that you said, what was it? The last
About
thing that you
the
said
being able to
about
pivot last minute.
pivoting. Yes. Yeah, because I think that's such a great point because when you have as much of it automated and streamlined and like you have a process for how this event is going to go, that saves you so much brain space, I think, when you're
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm just like we're following this, standard operating procedure for this event that we're holding. I think that really frees up the brain power that you need to be able to pivot for those unexpected things that might show up.
Exactly. Exactly. Even just like the knowing that this event's gonna fall on the 3rd Thursday of every month, like, that alone takes so much stress off because I can just know and be prepared and you know what I mean? Like, the planning
Yes.
for it becomes so much less stressful, even though you still have to plan and you still have to, like you said, market the event.
Yep.
It's just different. It's not so
Yes.
messy in my brain and convoluted and, time consuming. So, completely.
Yeah. And I always think this is something I work on some of my clients with when they have an event like that. It's like, okay, how do we like pick the date for the event and then build backwards in terms of how are you going to market the event? How many emails are you sending? How many social posts are you sending? Like, what are all of the pieces that lead up to it? And how do we, and I don't know, I'm still like a really big hard copy calendar person. So when I'm working on something like that, I'll actually print out like a monthly calendar and just like handwrite it, of course, color coded with different color pens for the different marketing tactics. Of course, it's color coded. But that's how I like to wrap my brain around like, okay, this thing is happening and how do I get out in front of it and make sure that I have all these things in
Absolutely.
place.
Absolutely.
So, along those lines, Kaitlyn, I would love to hear from you because I know part of the story is you well, okay, part of it was you said, like, you were very optimistic. You had rose-colored glasses on, you thought, like,
Mhm.
"Okay, I'm gonna do this," and that's a piece of it for sure, which lesson learned, obviously. But the other
Absolutely.
piece I think you mentioned when we were talking about this having this conversation was maybe holding back for fear of, like, over promoting.
Mhm. Exactly. And I mean, when I say I pushed out like 3, maybe 4 pieces of content around this event, it just isn't enough. And I was thinking it
Mhm.
was because I'm like, "Oh, I don't wanna overwhelm people. I don't wanna put it out there and look like I'm boastful about it." You let all that sort of self-talk get to you and self-doubt and
Yep.
the imposter syndrome kind of creeps in and I think that's a huge piece of this to consider is that your audience may see one out of even 10 items that you push out and so
Yes.
you have to consider that you're not overwhelming necessarily. And even if you are, so what? Right? Like, how many times do we see the same ad over and over again and we just scroll past it and like ignore it?
Right.
But I think that getting myself to that confidence level and getting myself to just believe that it's okay. It's okay to keep pushing it out, and it's okay to keep advocating for your event, for yourself, for your business. It's huge. It's so huge.
Yes. And I see this time and time again with business owners, especially I think when it comes to email marketing. Although,
Mhm.
yes, I see it in social too. It's like, well, we already talked about it. We can't post about it again. And to your point, you have to remember that your audience is not seeing every single thing that you're putting out.
Exactly.
And the rule of marketing is someone needs to see something 7 times before it actually sticks.
Exactly. Yes.
So if you have that in your brain, you're like, "Oh, wow, yes, 3 or 4 is definitely not enough." Like, you
Right.
have to have multiple touch points.
100%. Yeah.
So I'm curious, what have you learned in that way of how many emails or social posts or however you're promoting these events? What have you kind of found is working for you?
Well, I think I'm still learning, to be honest with you. I mean,
Yeah.
we're 4 months in,
I'm still learning. We're all still learning, first of all.
absolutely. But yeah, 4 months in, I've had essentially 4 runs at trying this and seeing what sticks, what doesn't. This past month, I tried one of like the LinkedIn boost things where you like pay a little extra to get your stuff out there more often. I've used different mediums, whether it's like images with sound or video, or just kind of
Mm,
mixed it up. And I'm still trying to figure out really what lands with people. To be quite honest with you, I don't know that I've hit
mhm.
my sweet spot yet, and I'm accepting of that now. Where before I was like feeling like I had to have it all figured out, and it's like I've only been at this for 4 months, so I'm giving myself some grace.
Oh, for sure. Give yourself tons of
Yes,
grace.
yes.
Yes, it's definitely a learning process for everybody.
Yeah. But also to your point, like not being afraid to recycle content. That's a hard one for me. Like, I'm the kind of
Mhm.
girl that's like I try to be different and unique even in how I show up. Like, if I wore the same shirt 6 months ago and the person that I'm meeting with today saw me in that shirt, I can't wear that shirt again. You know what I mean? Like, I can't recycle that. So I feel the same way about my marketing content. It's like, well, they can't see the same thing. Then it'll look like I'm cheating. It's like, that's not cheating. That's just working smarter, not harder. And so just
Yes.
trying to get my kind of OCD brain to align with that thinking is a new and unique challenge for me. So
Yeah. And again, that is something I see so many business owners struggle with, thinking like every single thing needs to be brand new and different than
mhm,
the thing before. And that's really just not the case,
right.
especially when you're marketing an event that's going to be basically the same every time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
looking at I really like helping clients do that too, is like look at what performed the best and how
Mhm.
can we reuse, repurpose that. And maybe you're using all the same verbiage, but you're changing to your point. Maybe you use
Or
a
something.
GIF instead of an image, or you do a carousel slider post instead of just one static image. So
Exactly.
mixing up the creative and the wording, but like not reinventing the wheel every time can really help
Absolutely.
you leverage what you've already created.
And not burn out doing it, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. You can't burn yourself out.
No, 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 no. And I mean, we do this like in the corporate world. Right now, the company I'm at, we reuse our posts from a year ago to push out to LinkedIn, because we know, if somebody saw it last year and they see it again and it resonates, great. What's it going to hurt? You know what I mean? No
Right.
one's probably remembering that they saw it last year like we are. So just keeping that in perspective, I think, is really critical too.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So there's a couple more things I want to touch on in this conversation. One is kind of the different ways that you've been promoting these events. Like for me, email and social are like the first two things that come to mind, especially
Mhm.
for like a virtual event. Are there other ways that you're spreading the word about these events?
I actually don't have a massive email list yet. So the way I'm approaching it is a lot of LinkedIn direct messaging. It's providing
Mhm.
me the opportunity to connect with people first, which is great because that's building my network to pull from. But then sending those direct messages and really like looking at someone's background and saying, would this be of interest to them? And like really considering the world they work in, the type of markets they serve, and doing a little bit more targeted that way, where if I'm working from an email list, it's great. I probably have that email for a reason, but I may not always remember where do they work and what's their life like, and does this
Yeah.
apply. And so it's a really nice tool to be able to use to just deep dive into a person before I send that message and make sure it seems meaningful. And I try really hard too to not cookie cutter every single message. Like there's pieces of it that I will, like I'll copy and paste, like here's the link to RSVP. I don't need to retype it every time, but the message that I send to that person, I want to be personable and I want to come off like it's genuine because it is. And so many times I think we get spammed with just, you can tell it's either a bot or it's a cookie cutter response that they send to everybody. And it's just like, ugh, gross.
Yep.
I don't want to be that person. So I try really hard to be genuine and be unique in each of my messages. But then I'm also doing things with, I'll push content out on LinkedIn, or I mean on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram, and just try to resonate with people that way as well, with just a topic that might strike a nerve and might create some interest.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is really great because I wanted to bring up this point earlier and we started talking about something else. This point about you have something of value to offer people, right? And when I think a lot of times, again, especially on the topic of DMs, oh my gosh, I feel like more business owners than not are resistant to sending DMs because we've all been on the receiving end of those icky, gross, salesy ones.
Mm-hmm.
But I always try. I just did a marketing workshop this week with my marketing support group, and this topic came up again. Someone's like, "Okay, but how do I send DMs without like feeling weird and icky? It's like I feel like intrusive to their lives." And I'm like, there's so many ways that you can send thoughtful, authentic, meaningful DMs to people to start a conversation. I was telling the one member, I was like, think about going to a networking event and walking up to someone to start a conversation. Like
it's the same thing.
That's how you can approach DMs. Like shift your mindset on it.
But it's even better because you have so much at your disposal to study up on before you send that DM, right? Like
So
you
true.
at a networking event, you know nothing maybe.
That's
Here,
true.
you have a recent post from them that you could have engaged on and then message them and say, oh my gosh, your post was amazing. I resonated with this part of it. And I think you'd be great at my event. You can just connect so many dots there where in person you just can't. Not always, that's
anyway. That is so very true. Yeah, you can like totally, for lack of a better word, like online stalk them and learn a lot about them before you reach out.
Yeah, stalking feels gross, but like it's all out of, it's in good nature and good spirit.
You get to know them so that you can I say like finding that common thread of what you can connect with somebody on.
Absolutely. And if I do the digging and that person is not, they don't feel like they would resonate with my mission, then I'm going to move on to the next, right? And not waste their time and mine. So
yeah, definitely. And that was the other thing I wanted to say is like that whole, like you're offering, especially, for your nonprofit organization and the work that you're doing, like that is a service that people need. And I think a lot of times when business owners and leaders get resistant to a marketing tactic and feel like, oh, it's going to be salesy or icky or gross, they're losing sight of the big picture and like, how can you help somebody? Because if you don't reach out to them, they may never know how you can help them, how you can solve a problem that they're having in their life or their business. So I think the mindset really plays a big role in it.
Yeah. And I think that, just you saying that, I don't know, I had a very unsuspecting piece of marketing that was very successful this month. Like 3 months ago, I had a reporter reach out to me because I had posted in my like local neighborhood or community Facebook group about my company. They reached out to me and they were like, hey, I'm interested in learning more. So I sent them like just a very brief blurb. Like I wasn't even really thinking about it. Sent them my website. I'm like, let me know if you have any questions. And she was like, okay, well, I'll let you know when the article comes out. And I'm like, whoa, you're like going to write about me. Okay. So I gave her some more information once I knew that piece, the little minor detail. And this article came out this past month. And almost immediately, I had like 2 emails in my inbox, and that had not happened yet. Like that just hadn't happened. I hadn't had clients reach out yet. And so even thinking of like the unconventional approaches that feel like, oh, maybe this is behind the times or outdated or whatever, I think sometimes they're kind of coming back around because people are forgetting about them. But then when people get a newspaper's article in their email inbox and they read it because it's about their community, you connect. Right. So, and that feels less icky.
Yes.
Maybe a little unconventional in today's times, but it was really successful. So, thinking outside the box, but maybe, you know, backwards in terms of technology and what we
Yeah.
think is like cutting edge now. It's a newspaper. I wouldn't
Yeah.
have thought to do that. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Thanks so much for sharing that.
yeah.
So we are running short on time, but I did want to get to one more thing before we wrap things up, Kaitlyn. And that was you mentioned that you got to post after you had that event where nobody showed up. It sounds like you got kind of vulnerable and used it as an opportunity to post about it. And what happened when you did that?
I got great response. I posted, I was like in my little chair after the meeting and I was just trying to decompress and like process what had just happened because it was hurtful, I guess, in a way.
Yes.
I shouldn't have been hurt by it, obviously, now looking back. But I popped on like a TikTok video and I was just like, you know what? It didn't happen for me tonight, but I'm not going to stop just because that happened. My mission is ingrained in me at this point. I am convicted to continue on and convicted to keep this going. And knowing that maybe I didn't reach somebody this month, but maybe I'll reach somebody next month is the thing that's going to keep propelling me forward. And so just putting that out there in the universe, I had a lot of really positive response of like, good for you. Like, good for you for not letting it bring you down. And good for you for keeping on and being so devoted to your mission. So for anyone out there who's experienced what I experienced, I encourage you to do the same and just see it as a stepping stone to success and not a failure.
Yes. I absolutely love that message. And I think the more that we can all be human and transparent and vulnerable, especially through our marketing efforts, the more people connect with us.
100%, especially as you're building something new too. Again, like
Yes.
I said earlier, give yourself grace. We all need that.
Yes. Yes. I love that so much, Kaitlyn. Do we want to end on that note, or do you have
Sure.
any other last
Let's
lesson
do it.
learned that you want to share? That was gold right there.
That's essentially, the message out of all of this is to just keep going, right? Just because it's not 100% perfect or the way you envisioned it this month doesn't mean it won't be next month or 6 months from now, right? It doesn't all happen in our timing. I firmly believe there's a big man upstairs that has got a plan, and I'm just along for the ride. So
Thank you so much, Kaitlyn. I really appreciate you coming on the show. Very lastly, how can people reach out and learn more about you and what you are doing with your amazing nonprofit?
Thank you. So they can learn more about the nonprofit at www.facedwithgrace.org. If you'd like to reach out to me directly, you can email me at connect@facedwithgrace.org.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kaitlyn. I really appreciate you coming on the show, being vulnerable, open, and transparent with me and all of our listeners about your journey so that other people can learn from it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.